Chapters 2 through 4 represent an analysis of John's psyche. The strengths and weaknesses of each of the 7 churches represent John's strengths and weaknesses as they pertain to each of the 7 spiritual centers. By identifying the churches in the Revelation as spiritual centers, Cayce is consistent with some of the great mystical traditions of enlightenment. By linking the spiritual centers to endocrine glands, Cayce identifies the connection of the soul to the body. Here is a list of the major endocrine glands and how they relate to the 7 churches of the Revelation. In modern scientific terms, Cayce is dealing with psychoneuroendocrinology, the physiology of the psyche. This is how our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are linked to the functioning of glands and nerves. This is how spirit manifests in a physical body through these glandular spiritual centers. The Eastern approaches to enlightenment speak of chakras, or whirling vertexes of energy, in much the same way as Cayce views the spiritual centers in the Revelation. The chakras are storehouses of soul memories and patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving, sometimes referred to as karma. Throughout the ages, sages and philosophers have told us to know thyself. This is what we are talking about here. We are to know ourselves as souls. This is true psychology. The psyche, meaning the soul, ology, meaning knowledge, psychology in its original meaning is soul knowledge. In one of his readings given for a physician who had undergone years of psychoanalysis, Cayce told the man that if he would read the Revelation with the idea of the body as the interpretation, he would be able to understand himself and psychoanalyze others. That is real depth psychology. As an exercise in self-analysis, Cayce encourages each of us to do a self-inventory, similar to John's vision in chapters 2 through 4. Each of us are to look within to see what our issues are for each of the 7 centers. What are the strengths and weaknesses? In what are we lacking? Are we hot or cold? Have we been negligent in some way or yielded to temptation? Do we have exceptional talents and abilities to draw upon? One approach to understanding the meaning of the centers is to assume that we all basically have the same issues for each center. In other words, our issues will be identical to what John experienced in his vision. In this case, all we would have to do is to understand John's experience to understand ourselves. This approach is based on the concept of archetypes. Yes, the centers are archetypal to the extent that we each have similar issues, but Edgar Cayce encouraged each person to work out the meaning of the symbols for themselves. This is a theme throughout the whole of the Revelation. The Revelation is the revelation of self. It is an individual, personal experience, and not to be taken as a formula or rote process. Here is an example of what I'm talking about. One night, I was given a gift of several dreams to help me with my self-analysis. The first dream takes place in an automobile showroom. A woman tries to sell me a red convertible sports car. There is something dishonest or misrepresented in the deal, selfishness or extreme self-interest on her part. The owner of the car dealership enters the scene. He recognizes her because of past deals she has had with others which have not turned out well. I decide to buy a station wagon instead. In this dream, the color red clues me in that the gonad center is the real issue here. The red sports car serves as a sexual phallic symbol. I choose the station wagon, which signifies faithfulness and family life. In this dream, I am eating a meal in the presence of another person. I realize that the man I am with doesn't have any food. I give him my dinner. He eats most of it but doesn't eat the shrimp, which are part of the meal. I ask him for the shrimp, which I eat, but leave a few and suggest that he try some orange sauce to spice them up. We both enjoy the shrimp. The theme here seems to be generosity and sharing, even sacrifice. Shrimp, a water symbol, is indicative of the Leydig center, as is the color orange. Sacrificial sharing opens the Leydig center. In the Revelation, the Lamb that is slain is the only one worthy to open the seals of the book in chapter 5. The choice here is between selfishness and sharing. Self-sacrifice is the key to opening the spiritual centers. I will come back to this theme in a later section. In my waking life, I grew up in the construction business and operated my own contracting company for many years. I have had many construction dreams. In Dream 3, I am working on a project using carpenter's tools. I decide to sleep away from home so that I can work longer hours and get more work done. But in the dream, I change my mind and decide to go home because I realize that I really won't get more work done by isolating myself somewhere else. I pick up my tools, which are distinguished from other people's tools by blue spray paint that I use to identify them. The primary tool that I notice and focus on is a carpenter's block plane. Indeed, in my waking career in construction, I painted my tools with a blue mark to make them easy to identify and put away at quitting time. The color blue is prominent in this dream, with several tools having the blue mark. The block plane alters the shape of things, just as the will shapes our reality by the choices that we make. The color blue signifies the thyroid gland, which is often regarded as the will center. The choice is whether to keep a healthy and productive balance between my work life and family life, or fall into a workaholic pattern, something I've struggled with at times, especially as it relates to the next dream. I grew up near a small town called Mount Zion. In this dream, someone has poured concrete on the main road to Mount Zion. There are several people with me, but I go to Mount Zion alone. I tell the others not to come with me, but to take the longer route so that they will not walk on the wet concrete. It was poured in an unusual manner. No forms were used. It appeared to be a partial layer. Another top coat will be poured later to make it smooth. I have poured a lot of concrete, so this dream has special meaning to me. This was a large project, but there were no workmen present. The concrete looked as if it had just been poured. I was mystified and intrigued by the way the concrete was poured. I was also probably a little bit concerned that it might set up and be a mess. I interpret this dream to represent the pineal center. The pineal gland becomes calcified or crystallized in most people in early adulthood. There was a mystical quality to the dream. Edgar Cayce referred to the pineal as the Appian Way, the main road leading into Rome. In this dream, I was taking the straight route, which was more direct and quicker, but not as certain. There was also a sense of time element in this dream. The concrete would set up fast, and I was aware that I only had a limited amount of time to do what I needed to do. The choice is to tackle the challenge and risk of this difficult project, rather than taking the longer and safer route where I sent the others. I may have had other dreams that night that I didn't remember. I have become aware of issues relating to the other centers through meditation and counseling. There are many ways to go about self-analysis. The main thing is to work and play at it yourself, to know yourself in a practical sense. You will find that this process will get you in touch with deep soul issues that involve choices for you. This is the way of soul growth. This is the path of enlightenment. That is the ultimate revelation, the revelation of self. In terms of John's revelation, the self-analysis process continues throughout most of the vision. So we will be coming back to this self-analysis process from various angles as we proceed through the sections that follow.